Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Woman on the Rise, brought to you by the Pink Stairs. My name is Safa Khan, the podcast host for today's episode of the Pink Stairs. Today, we are going to explore Helena Musson's journey and experiences with Model UN, alongside many other achievements. Helena has immersed herself in politics and history, using those interests to make a name for herself in the Greater Toronto Area. With experience in student government, being the editor-in-chief for the Icon, and having multiple awards under her belt, she currently serves as USG of Outreach for CanMoon 2025. Welcome, Helena. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm actually the Secretary General now, so that's fun.
Oh, congratulations. Oh my God,
Thank
I
you.
didn't know. Wow, that's amazing. How is that position for you?
It's very fun. This is actually a lot of interviews for me because this past week we did all our secretariat interviews.
Oh.
So,
That sounds really interesting. I can't wait to hear more about it. So I was looking through your LinkedIn, and you've mentioned that you've always been curious about the world. Can you take us back to the moment you realized you were drawn to international affairs, and how did that interest lead you to the Model UN?
honestly, there wasn't ever one specific moment. I remember when I was a little kid, my parents got this big globe, and my dad would show me all the places he'd been and all the things he'd done, and there was just so much of the world around me. And it kind of felt like you can either choose to just live your life in your city and just only really yourself and your immediate circle of people you connect with, or you can branch out and learn more about the world kind of on the biggest scale you can. And I've always just thought that was very interesting.
That's actually really wonderful. I love how you had like a globe as well. The globe is actually really cool. So you did say that your dad was the one that kind of inspired you. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I'm not sure how much of his own life he wants me to share,
Makes sense.
but
Yeah.
he's lived in a few different countries. He had a time with the Air Force. They were stationed one of the last NATO bases in Europe, in Germany. So they lived in France for a little bit, I think. He did a PhD in Texas. And my father, he'd heard as a child from the world around him that you can't do everything. And he just kind of said, well, you kind of can. He always told me you could do anything
And
because
he's so right. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
he did everything. So that's kind of my goal in life, to have an interesting life. I don't want to live in a specific moment in the past.
Mm.
I'm hoping that 50 years from now, I'm doing something interesting and I have a whole repertoire of interesting stories.
And that's actually so amazing. I love how your dad was like, okay, no, I don't want those barriers in my life. I want to pursue everything and everything. Having like a role model like that in your life, that's actually wonderful to have. That's amazing. You've taken on several huge roles in the Model UN world. Currently, Secretary General, is that right? The Secretary General at CanMoon and President at Westdale's chapter. What's been the most challenging part of organizing a conference of that scale?
Oh boy. So, Westdale doesn't have a conference. We've apparently club heads in the past have tried, so I will try as well, but I'm not I don't want to say I'm not hopeful, but it'll be definitely a fair amount of complicated.
Mm-hmm.
As for Kanban, honestly, it's just you need to coordinate so many things to go right on a specific set of days. So last year, I joined the Secretariat in July. We brought in our staff around the end of summer, and the conference happened in April. And in the months leading up to that, it was so much work from all of the Secretariat, who I'm so glad I was able to work with. They were all amazing, and dozens of staff. Directors and chairs and crisis staff, the people who really made the conference, the media team who captured it. So it was lovely to work together with so many people.
That's wonderful. That's actually really interesting to think, like, hear about. That's actually really cool. So tell me about a time when things almost went off the rails with you and your team. How did you all recover from it?
Mm. I wouldn't say we've been at the point where something almost completely spiraled.
Mhm.
There have definitely been hiccups along the way, little issues, one of the most anxiety-inducing moments of my life was before the Cannes Awards ceremony,
Oh.
because delegates, they're always wondering, ooh, do I get my award? Do I not get my award? And that can be stressful. But I was sitting with the USG of Logistics, and we were formatting all the awards into the actual awards to be printed off and the slideshow. And I was terrified that whole closing ceremony because I thought, there is a 100% chance, probably lower than that, but it's very possible that I've messed up the awards somehow, and they're gonna call it the best delegate for someone who wasn't even in that committee. So I feel like that could have gone poorly very many times, and a few times I did catch mistakes that either I or the USG of Logistics had made, and I said, oh wait, we have to fix that.
And how
But
did you deal with that? Like, did you catch them while they were presenting it, or was this before any of that happened?
just before you get it done, you do it right, and you go through it again and make sure it's been done okay.
Gotcha. Wow, that's actually really wonderful. And when you caught those, how did you make sure that you wouldn't make those mistakes again? Or how did you, like, what were the steps that you would take to make sure this doesn't happen in the future?
Well, you can't. We're human. Humans make a lot of mistakes. So you just need to do the best you can in that moment, and then you go back and make sure that your best really is up to par.
100%. I 100% agree with your answer. That's actually really good. On top of your involvement with Canmoon, you're also the editor-in-chief of The Icon, a political editorial focusing on media and awareness from the student perspective. How do you decide what kind of content each issue includes?
Oh, quite simple. I let the writers choose.
Okay, that's actually really cool. So all of the writers, they have like their own niche that they want to talk about, or like any of their interests that they talk, like they really are interested in. Do you let them talk about that, or is there any boundaries or like things that they shouldn't talk about? How do you navigate that?
I deal with the issues one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Issues referring to issues of the icon, not problems. But if someone pitches an idea, they run it by me first, and I'll approve it. But I mean, I'm a writer. I'd like to spend my life writing, but ugh, the rise of AI.
Yeah, no, it's hurting everyone these days. It has its pros and its cons.
hmm
Yeah,
I
continue.
like to give people the freedom to choose what they want to write with kind of as few restrictions as they can.
Mm.
If they want to write something really, really insane, then I might stop that. But for the most part, I kind of want to do what my writers want to do
Mhm.
because it's not a dictatorship being run by me, it's a voice of the students for the students. So it should be the students expressing their opinion, not just one. One of them, Anan, he's very interested in sports, so he wanted to create a sports article. And I said, yeah, sure. So now we have sometimes sports editions.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I also love how you guys don't cover up anything. You guys let the students be and express themselves. I know, like, in the news media today that we usually see, like, they always, like, give you some of like some parts of the story and not entirely all of it. So what the icon does, I actually really admire that you guys are actually letting the students speak from their perspective, and like you said, you guys don't try to limit how much they share with the the people that you share with. Um, being the editor in chief, what is your favorite issue written about?
Oh dear. Mm, our former editor-in-chief, Aryan, he did a very good article on the Russia-Ukraine war, and I just thought it was very well done. It's an important issue. I find it interesting because the way that news works is it's so concentrated depending on where you are. And often I realize that human interest is important, but there is a civil war raging in Sudan, and there's a war in Ukraine, and there's a famine in Gaza, and I could ramble off a list for an hour of issues plaguing the world. But
Mhm.
then you'll click on the news, and they'll have a really, really irrelevant, kind of cute to hear about, but
Yeah,
it's mhm.
it's horrible. Like, like they don't really talk about the specific part. They don't even really cover that story as well as you hope they would.
I don't think I've seen Sudan in the news for I don't even know how long.
Yes. Like they always stay to the topics that are relevant, but then things that like happened 2 years ago and still are happening now, they're like, oh, that's old news. We don't need to touch base on that anymore, but it's still happening. I
Exactly.
understand. Yeah.
So I like that even if it was an older edition, that Aryan was able to bring attention to this war that is still going on.
Yeah, it's important to bring attention to things that you still don't remember that are happening, but at least like the icon, they remind people, okay, this is still happening. You guys need to wake up. You guys need to not just forget about what's going on, but at least still be mindful that it's still there. That's actually really wonderful. Now, Helena, on top of all of these extracurriculars, how are you still a full-time student about to endure the nightmares of university applications? How do you stay grounded, and what does having a work-life balance mean to you?
Oh, really simple. I take what I like. So, I like political science, I like international affairs, I'll study something like that in university. And I mean, if you look at my grades, you'll find that the classes I did really, really well in are history and art and English and geography. And the ones that I didn't do as well in are physics and math. So I didn't take too many physics and math courses because then school feels a lot less like a chore. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, I'll say that. But instead of going to school knowing that you'll be doing equations for 4 hours, which I might not be able to handle,
Yeah,
I,
understood.
I can instead write stories and do art and learn about history. And I'm taking a class next year called Introduction to Anthropology, Psychology, and Sociology. So that's not the kind of thing that feels like something that has to be done. It's more of a, I get to take this. So it really becomes an interest because school, you're going to spend 6 hours a day there, 5 days a week, most months of the year. And if you say, oh, I'm going to take chemistry and biology because it looks very good on a report card that you did these subjects and that, oh, you're scientific. If you don't want to go into something that needs those programs, and if you don't enjoy those programs, I don't think there's a reason to do it. Having said that, I did have a pretty brutal course load last year, and it was not fun. But honestly, you get through it. You put one foot in front of the other and you say, "Okay, I signed up for this course. I don't like it, but I'm going to finish it and I'm going to get the best grade I can." And that's just kind of the attitude you need to have, otherwise you'll just be buried in all the work.
Yeah, you're like beating the system. You're like, okay, instead of making school like this chore that I have to do, like you said, why not make it fun? Why not take the courses that I'm actually good in and I actually have an interest for? That is the best advice I think anyone could ever give. Because as a student myself who's going into engineering, I I kid you not, I wish I didn't take all of those hard courses because now like it's like halfway through the summer break and I'm dreading school. Like I'm actually scared for it and I hope it doesn't come. So that's actually wonderful that you're taking school on, not like it's some burden on your shoulders, but more like a challenge, something that you really want to do. That is actually amazing. I'm inspired by you. When life all becomes too much, is there anything specific you like to do to calm down?
Well, I go to the gym a lot, so that's nice. If you're so physically exhausted that you can't do anything, I also do powerlifting, so that's fun.
That's cool. What
hmm
what is powerlifting? Do you like to go more on about that?
Oh yeah, sure. It's a sport. My school has a team. You essentially you compete in weight classes divided into gender to see who can lift the most
Okay,
for
wow.
lifts. It's quite fun.
That does seem a lot of fun. So what else do you like to do?
Well, The gym, that keeps me physically exhausted, which takes your mind off the mental exhaustion, so that's nice.
That actually, it's like a little balance, like
Mm,
some mental exhaustion and a little bit of physical exhaustion. So you're having a little bit of both in your life. That's actually really cool. Um,
exactly.
that's cool. That's actually really cool.
I
And
also like, oh,
sorry, continue.
okay. I love art. Visual artist. Musically, that doesn't exist. I Oh my, you should never hear me on a recorder. I apologize to anyone in my fourth grade music class.
No,
But I
don't worry. I played flute for a few months and I was like, okay, nope, music's not my thing anymore.
oh, I tried the ukulele. That did not work. I love listening to music though. I have a Spotify playlist that I think is over 180 hours.
Oh my God. What? That is crazy. Oh my God. Okay. At the end of this interview and you're giving out your social media, make sure you like tell us about your Spotify so I can go and follow you and like get some music recommendations. Are there any artists that you like specifically?
Um, oh my gosh. Okay. I found something really interesting. If you just limit yourself to music you can understand, you're shutting off so much of the world. So recently, I found the Turkish music is really good. Just music in general from the Balkans. That's amazing. Yeah, actually, I've somehow learned a little bit of German from music. So that's interesting.
No way. I can't wait to give that a try. That actually sounds pretty impressive. What? Wow. Imagine like not only like enjoying music, but also being able to learn from it simultaneously. That is insanely a skill. Wow. That's cool. That is really cool. What else is there anything else that you like to do in your downtime?
Oh, yeah. I like drawing, painting, mm, making spaces interesting, I'll say. I don't like minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
I like finding things that I absolutely cannot afford on Etsy. I love reading. Mm, oh, I'll do fun makeup looks sometimes, but
That's actually really cool.
it
Going
is.
back to your books, I literally was like on like a book splurge last year. I would find any and every book on like Goodreads and just like try to read those. Are there any recommendations you would like to give to our listeners?
Oh my. Okay, book recommendations.
It can
Mm,
just be like one or two. You don't have to like give us like too much. Whatever you find enough or whatever you liked so far.
right off the bat, I really like Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. Well done.
Okay.
The Stranger by Camus. I'm also going to put by Salman Rushdie, Haroun and the Sea of Stories. It's aimed at a younger audience, but it's just such a beautiful story
Okay.
and kind of similar, not similar at all, really, but The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. I don't normally read like softer things, I'd say, like that, but it was just a really lovely story.
Wow. Those are actually really some solid good recommendations. I can't wait to check those out as well. Um, Earlier this year, the editor-in-chief stepped down from their position at the Icon and asked you to replace them. Congratulations. What was your initial reaction?
I mean, I was flattered. My friend had decided to create a platform for students to share their opinions, and he trusted me with taking it over.
All right.
So I was flattered. I was kind of like, oh, another thing to do, but also kind of excited because you never know what the future holds.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, don't be scared from those responsibilities. Instead, like, take them
Exactly.
on and just, like, embrace it. That's amazing. How did you approach the position along with its responsibilities? You did say, like, oh, you were scared of the responsibilities and, like, like, it was a bit too much for the workload. But how did you, like, make time for that into your schedule?
I wouldn't say I was scared per se,
Hmm.
just more aware that this will be now another thing that takes time. So there are 24 hours in a day, and most people don't really take advantage of that. Like you spend especially now with like short-term media, you spend so much time on TikTok, Instagram Reels, these kinds of things, that you can easily just send 4 hours a day just completely away. Now, it's not to say that I am a perfect person who wakes up at 6 in the morning and irons my bed sheets and has an American Psycho morning routine and then does 4 hours of German lessons because I actually cannot do that. I've tried.
I mean, I don't think there's a single person in the world who could, but you know what? Good good try. It was a good try.
Goals, you know? So you really need to make time for things. You say, okay, I'm going to prioritize this. If you take on a responsibility, you need to be willing to actually put in the work for that responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah. If you're going to take on a responsibility, you have to put in the work.
Mhm.
Um, what was your greatest challenge when accepting this role?
Well, there's always the question when you try something new of, do I have time for this in 6 months? Am I still going to be enthusiastic about this?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that kind of doubt. Another thing is a lot of the icon is written by university students, so you don't know how they're going to respond to a 16 was I 17? I might have been 15 at the time.
Oh.
Anyways, to someone who's a good deal younger than them, now saying, "Excuse me, you have a deadline. Create an article while you're busy with your university exams." You don't know how they'll react to that.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to find potentially new writers, see which of the old ones are willing to stick around. So there's always that challenge.
Gotcha. Yeah. And it is intimidating, reaching out to people that are older than you. You're like, oh, this does not seem right. But, as long as you had that confidence, as long as you knew what you were doing, I'm pretty sure it went like really well. So, before we let you go, I'd love to ask if you could give advice to a younger student who's passionate but unsure of where to start, what would you tell them?
I'd say two things. First of all, I'd say take and do what you like. If you are really passionate for something, don't just say to yourself, oh, you know what, I can't do it, so I'm going to take different courses, I'm going to take a different path. No, I think you should go for it. I think you should do things that you enjoy. And the second piece of advice is actually go for it. Because, I mean, right now, I'm essentially the highest person in planning an international Model UN conference with hundreds of delegates, and that's amazing. And I got that position by being on the secretariat last year. And if I had said to myself when I was looking at that secretariat application, well, I'm in grade 9 right now, I don't have any awards, I don't have too much experience, maybe they won't take me, I better just not apply. If I had done that and I hadn't applied because I thought, well, they aren't going to give it to me anyways, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I have applied for things that I haven't gotten, but there's always the chance that you do. And I have applied for things that I have gotten, and I've had amazing experiences because of those. Because more often than not, you regret things you don't do. I wish I'd talked to that person. I wish I'd asked this. I wish I'd went here. And really, life is experiences, but you can't be afraid of making the decision to try and get those experiences.
Wow, those are wise words, Helena. That is amazing. And I hope that our listeners actually take that advice and like actually implement it into their lives. That is actually really wonderful. All right, thank you so much, Elena, for your time, and thank you for all the insights that you've provided us with this episode. And thank you to our listeners as well for tuning in. And don't forget to follow the Pink Stairs on Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and TikTok. Helena, before we let you go, is there any way for the listeners to reach you, like social media, websites, Spotify?
I'm going to drop the Spotify. That is actually one of the most secretive things in my life.
Okay, you know what? And I respect that. I do respect that. All
I
right.
actually live in fear of people judging my music taste from when I was in the 7th grade.
No, same, same.
That is a chapter of my life. Oh boy.
Oh my God. You know what? People will judge one way or another. You can never satisfy them all. Those are words to you. That's my advice that you
Thank
should
you.
take. Just letting you know. But are there any other social medias that you would like to give us?
Yeah, you can find my LinkedIn. It's just my name. I think if you Google me, the LinkedIn is the first thing that comes up, so that's awesome. You can try my Instagram, also my name, but I probably won't follow you back if I don't know you, so.
You know what? That's totally fine, you know? It's better to not follow people that you don't know just for your safety, you know? You can't
Exactly.
be following everyone left, right, and center like I do, which is something I need to work on as well. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. And listeners, don't forget to recommend this amazing, wonderful, and totally cool podcast to your friends and family. See you guys on the next episode. Bye.